We're live. Daksha, how are you? It's fantastic to catch up with you. So we chatted at an FSB meeting. And do you know, isn't it strange? Because I hadn't actually been to FSB for a long time. And it was from something really silly because I actually got a message. I got a phone call from FSB this morning and saying, how are you enjoying your membership? And I said, yeah, really good. And she asked me, why did you get involved? And I said, well, I told her I was in it a long time ago. But Jerry Brennan was a big part of FSB and he passed away. And my son actually helped Jerry. So there was this personal thing. And that was my reason for not going back to FSB. How silly is that? But I didn't. Mm-hmm. But the day that I went back, I met you. And we caught up online. And then I said to you, I'm going to be hosting this retreat that I've never done. But I had an idea and thought, always wanted to go to a retreat. Why not just do a retreat? Put it on. And you said, oh, I'd love to come. So tell me about you. Tell me your background. Tell me why you've even opened to coming to a retreat, and tell me how you managed to come to Scotland.
It is quite a circuitous route, I guess. So my background is I started my working career in the NHS. So I'm not medically trained or not a therapist or a clinician, but I started on the NHS graduate training scheme. So that was my first sort of start into the working world. And it was a great career. Loved it. Absolutely loved it. But, deep down in your heart, it was like, I'm not really sure if this is for me. And I think one of the things that really made me realize that was because as a trainee, I had access to loads of leadership and management training. And I had a mentor for 2 years, which was just really amazing. But it was when I was sitting in the training classes, I used to sit there thinking, I don't want to be a trainee. I want to be like that person who's doing the training, because they were so inspirational and they were like motivating you and they were just so knowledgeable. And I thought, well, that's what I want to be. But you know what? At the time, I was this really shy person. I was not very confident, didn't believe that I was assertive. And so I was like, I'm not sure how I'm going to make that transition from where I am to where I want to be. Eventually, I left the NHS because I got asked to go and join a consultancy where I would be delivering leadership and management training. And I thought, well, this is it, my dream job. I was in the job for about 8 months. I then got asked to do a particular project. Cut a long story short, I was really, really stressed because I felt so at my depth. I wasn't feeling very confident. I was comparing myself to everybody else. Not feeling good enough. And I actually ended up fainting on the job. And it was a real wake-up call. Yeah, it was a real wake-up call. But unfortunately, I just decided that I couldn't continue in that job. And so I left. And so I took up an interim position working back in the public sector, working with local authority. Did that for a while. Always wanted to do coaching and training. So then I set up my own business in 2015. And as I was saying to you, Audrey, sort of that was in parallel to looking after elderly parents. My mom was very poorly, trying to run a business, trying to have a relationship, trying to live life on my terms. And it was just all very challenging. And then Mum passed away in November 2019. And then 14 months later, my dad passed away in January 21. And I decided finally it was time to live my life on my terms. And I am in a relationship with my partner who was living in Edinburgh. I was living in Nottingham. And we were having this long distance relationship. And so when my parents both passed away, I finally decided it was time to move to Scotland. So I moved in April 23. Can't believe it's coming up to almost a year. And here I am. And one of the things that I said when I moved to Scotland was this was my time to redesign life and completely redesign business as well. So that's the short version.
I mean, isn't it challenging when you get to that? And I love, because I'm going to backtrack a wee bit, because listen, I'm really, really sorry to hear about your mum. My cousin lost her mum and dad in the same week, and I know how devastated she was. But the challenges of losing a parent during COVID was horrific.
Yes.
It was, you were torn between everything, and that part in itself, it's just, we can't even look back in that and think, how did we do it? And I don't know about you, I lost my mum in 2002, and I lost myself at that point, actually, because I was menopausal. My son was 3, and I'd gone menopausal, lost my mum, I lost myself.
Yes.
And it's only when you move to the next part that you look back and think, actually, that's what happened. You know, because when you're in it, you're kind of like, you know, like you say, you know, you're looking after your mum, you're looking after your dad, you're trying to do the relationship, you're on this hamster wheel of, I'm at the bottom, but it doesn't matter because it's okay. How did you feel when you got out of that? Because there's a big part of guilt in this, and a lot of people have spoken to at the end of it. It's that permission part where, you know, you've lost your mum and dad and you think, how do I get the permission now to just be me? Because a lot of my friends have actually still got their parents and they're trying to deal with that. And I don't have my parents now. Sometimes it's like, oh, right, okay, I still can't do that. It's the permission part.
Yeah, I think it's about permission. Yeah, I think it's about permission. But it's also for me, it was about a choice. So as a family, we made the choice to look after my parents. And I guess you make that choice because you think, well, they're my parents, I want to look after them. But to be honest, you don't really know what's involved until you're actually in it. And so, you know, even when, you know, I think equally it applies to myself and to my 2 older brothers, who were all part of the family unit that were looking after my parents. And I think even then you kind of feel really guilty because you think, I really want to just go out and enjoy myself. I really want to just spend some time with my friends. I want to be with my partner, you know, but I can't because I'm now committed to looking after my parents. And I think that has probably been one of the biggest challenges when I look back. And even now, you know, I talk to quite a few friends who are also looking after their elderly parents, and they're in a similar situation. And I guess hindsight is a wonderful thing, isn't it? And, you know, when you look back, and I think to myself, you know, what would I do differently? And it's, you know, I guess for me, it's about recognizing that when your cup is empty, you are no good to anybody.
Absolutely. So, you need to put your oxygen mask on. I say this to everybody, put your own oxygen mask on. You can't help anyone unless you do. And don't feel bad about doing it. You know, it's saying, no, it's my turn. Don't, you know, I can't help you. I'm a people, I was a people pleaser. I'm going to add that bit. I was a people pleaser, but now it's very much, it's like, I don't want to do that. I'm not doing that now.
Yeah. And I think absolutely. So it's not feeling guilty. So it's okay to say, I can't do that. It's okay to say, okay, I just want some time for myself. And it's not always about, okay, I need to have the whole weekend off, or I need to have the whole week off. And that's great if you can. But in terms of my situation, it was just about grabbing the odd 30 minutes where you could just have a catch up with a friend. It was about just having 10 minutes to yourself. It was just about having 5 minutes to just go outside and get some fresh air, you know. So all those little things really, really added up. And a lot of the times, you know, there wasn't really anything anybody else could do to change that situation. But what made the biggest difference was just knowing that people were thinking about you, people were calling you and saying, are you okay? And just asking after you and just listening to what you had to say. It was just so helpful, so helpful. But a lot of the times it was about just giving yourself permission to say, I need to fill up my cup, because if I don't fill up my own cup, I'm no good. I'm of no use to anybody. And unfortunately, I was looking after my mum when I was going through my menopause, and it was just horrendous. Horrendous.
Yeah, me too.
That was not easy.
No, and the thing is, you know, when somebody says to you, I know how you feel, and I'll say, well, actually, you don't, because you weren't menopause. I mean, I had a 3-year-old and my mum had just died, and I was 40, and none of my friends actually understood. And I'm thinking, okay, they don't understand, but they don't understand. But I think I post a lot about this, and I don't post it in a bad way, but I do think your vibe attracts your tribe, Daksha. And I think what I found with it was, on a Sunday, that was my worst day because I spent a lot of time with my mum. And people would say to me, how are you? And I'll say, I'm fine. And they'll say, how are you really? And it was the people who said, how are you really? They really wanted to know how you were. So
Yeah.
that's how I say about my tribe, because these are the people who really wanted to listen to what I had to say, because it's very easy just to say, I'm fine.
Yeah.
Because everybody's fine. But underneath, we're not really fine. So
No,
tell me
and
more
it's
about, sorry, carry on. I interrupted you.
no, it's fine. I was just going to say, you know, sometimes it is about finding your trusted tribe, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think I put a post on yesterday. I said, your tribe decreases in value, but it actually increases in much greater value, because the people that you actually do meet, and I say this to my son all the time, don't wait till you're 61 to find these things out. Find them
Yeah,
out just now.
absolutely.
Say no. Do more of what you enjoy. So tell me more about your business, and then I'll ask about, no, in fact, actually, let's do it in reverse. How did we actually meet then? So I, as I said, went on to the FSB and met you that day. And then I said, I'm putting on a retreat. I had this idea, always wanted to go to a retreat, and I'm actually going to do one. One of the girls that I work with has some contact details, contacted the hotel, and it's all coming together. There's 17 of us. And you said you were coming. So again, one of these ones where you think, out of my comfort zone, but you did it. So tell me what happened from that, and why you thought, okay, I'm going to do that.
Well, as I said to you, Audrey, I moved to Scotland in April 2023, and live in a place called Crieff, which is quite a small town compared to Nottingham. So I kind of literally don't know anybody. So, you know, the last year was very much about meeting new people. And so one way that I thought, well, I can do this is through networking. So I've been proactively networking on FSB, and any opportunity I got to go and meet somebody face to face, I was doing that too. And so when you reached out to me and said, "Oh, Daksha, you know, do you deliver workshops?" And I was like, "Yes, I do." But you know, we hadn't met face to face. And I remember saying to my partner, "You know, I'm going to this retreat. I'm getting a lift with two people who I've never met before." And I said, "You know, I don't know anybody who's going to be there, but you know what? I've got to do this. I've got to step out my comfort zone. And if I really want to make new friends and I want to make some new connections, I'm going to have to do this." And so I did. I came along on the Friday, and it was just an amazing weekend because we were.
I threw you into a silent disco. I actually meant to tell everybody what was going to happen, but because the window was smashed, it all kind of went up in the air. And the next thing, the silent disco went on, and I kind of looked round about, and I thought, okay, I hope these guys know what a silent disco is.
And that was my first silent disco. I'd never had that experience before. So again, you know, it's doing something outside your comfort zone. And you know what was so fantastic is that all the women were all from different backgrounds, different ages, and we all kind of just seemed to gel. And the reason I truly believe that we gel is because to some degree, like, we're all on our own healing journey, aren't we? And that's what we have in common, that we've all faced challenges, we're still facing challenges, but that's what connects us, isn't it? Because that's what makes us human. And you know, again, so the silent disco was the first for me. On the Sunday, I actually did my first cold water dip, which was just
that was a great one. You taking your hand in, that was amazing.
Amazing. And literally, you know, I did post as well. I posted on LinkedIn to kind of say, you know, I'd done this, but you know, what was even more amazing was coming away from it feeling like I really genuinely came away with like 17 new friends. And that was
and that's hard for
priceless.
me. Everybody's still looking out for each other's back. There's a good morning post. You know, anybody's got an issue, somebody had an issue, any healers, somebody jumps in. I say this all the time, Daksha, find your tribe. And if you find your tribe, people look out for you back for no reason. You know, it's not, people say, oh, what's in it for you? There's nothing in it for people. Sometimes people just want to do something to help someone else.
Absolutely.
So tell us about your business, because I know you told us about Dr. Joe Dispenza and the work that you're doing with that and heart math, and it all sounded so interesting. So tell us more about that and excuse me, what you're doing with that.
Yeah. So, you know, I believe, Audrey, that there are probably millions of women, ambitious women, who are shattered, they're struggling, they're stuck in their not enoughness. And often that means we play small, or we're so busy proving ourselves, and it's exhausting, and it really doesn't have to be that way. So as a heart-centered resilience coach and trainer, I provide dynamic strategies to help women and enable women, empower women, to basically live life with more confidence, clarity, and courage, so that they can live their life on their terms. And the way that I do that mostly is by using neuroscience principles. I use positive psychology, and it's really about understanding that mind, body, brain connection, so that you can navigate the challenges in life, so that you can shift from that chaos into the calm. And you can do that in an instance. You can do that because you've got the tools. You can do that because you've made it a practice. And so a lot of my work is based on the work of Dr. Joe Dispenza. I'm a certified trainer for Dr. Joe Dispenza. I'm also a heart math coach. And again, the idea that you're using evidence and science to really help you make that mind, body, and brain connection, so that you can understand why these tools work, and you can understand, well, why do I do what I do? And I think sometimes when you have that knowledge, it means that you can assign more meaning to what it is that you're wanting to do differently. When you're trying to make any kind of changes can be challenging, and it's not always easy. But once you understand why you do what you do, it can really help in terms of helping you to make those changes.
Okay. And did you say to me that you have something on just now with your trainings? I mean, so if anybody's looking for a journey, because I think we're all on a journey.
Yes.
And I think you meet at that time, we talk about, I say it all the time in all different ways. When the pupil is ready, the teacher will appear. And there may be somebody who's actually listening to this who just thinks, okay, I know there's something else, but I don't actually know. I mean, I have got 160 Audible books. And I will listen to one and I'll think, I don't get that. And I'll listen to it again and then I don't get it. And I maybe listen to it 5 times and I think, I know what he said. But I think, somebody may just be in here listening and just think, okay, Daksha, right, okay, who is Dr. Joe Dispenza? Because the other day I mentioned Wayne Dyer, and somebody, who's Dr. Wayne Dyer? And I was listening to him this morning, like I said, and it took me to Dr. Joe Dispenza again. I think, right, okay, I need to go down this path again. And I think I said to you, I don't relate to Dr. Joe Dispenza, but maybe because I'm in another path, I may, so what work are you doing just now that you can help people with, and how can they be doing things?
So I do one-to-one coaching. So I'm coaching clients on a one-to-one basis. And sometimes people prefer that, stress, and, it can be a really personal journey. I think stress is still a taboo subject. I think we still find it really difficult to say, you know what, I'm stressed, or I'm not coping, or I'm overwhelmed. And I think a lot of times it's about really kind of getting into what's going on for you personally. And sometimes the support that you need, you might not necessarily get it in a group. So it's about holding that space in a very safe way, in a very confidential way, so that people can just be honest and open up and just start from where they are. So one-to-one coaching, I'm pulling together actually a one-day masterclass around transforming stress to strength. And again, very much looking at incorporating some of the heart math technology, the heart math evidence and research, to just give people some really kind of highly effective but really simple in the moment tools that you can use to help you shift from that chaos into calm. And then in terms of the work around Dr. Joe Dispenza, so Dr. Joe Dispenza, he's a chiropractor by background, but he has this amazing story of transformation where he broke his back as a triathlete, and then he healed himself. And so he's in the space of healing. And really the work that I am accredited to do delivering with Dr. Joe, it's a workshop. It's called Change Your Mind, Create New Results, but it's very much about understanding habits. It's about understanding the brain. It's about understanding how we shift from living in survival to living in creation. And really, more than anything, it's about recognizing and understanding that actually it all happens here.
Absolutely,
This
yeah.
is where it happens. And so it's about when you can really understand, how your habits create your life, then you can go, okay, I now need to change these habits. I need to change. And your habits become your personality. So your personality then creates your personal reality. So it's really about understanding, okay, if I really want to make some true change in my life and I want to create that future for myself, what are the steps that I need to take? And it's absolutely all possible. No, I'm not saying it's easy, but it's all possible.
Yeah, absolutely. I think mindset, and I think when people actually realize that they can change their life by changing their thinking.
Yes.
One of my team actually got me a lovely, it's a tag, and it says you can change your life, but first you have to change your thinking. And it is so true. Like some of the things, like I grew up thinking I was fat. I was small and fat until I got to five. I was 5'11" and I was 10 stone 10, but I never changed my head because I was still small and fat. And all my life, actually, I would say that's part of where I have been. Although I was 5'11", I
Yeah.
never quite changed that part of. So I wrote an ebook called "Growing Up with Freckles in My Nose" because that's how I always kind of saw it. So I love some of the things. I saw some of the photographs that we shared from the retreat when you had the ER and you shared them all. I mean, those photographs, they're just absolutely brilliant. Talk about just a wee bit about what these are, because I thought that was fascinating. I heard you in FSB about that, but the girls all thought that was so fascinating.
Yeah, so I often talk about the fact that, we all have this emotional landscape, and on a moment to moment basis, we can experience like a range of emotions, and that can change throughout the day. It can change like within the hour. And so I always like to kind of help people get some awareness around their emotional landscape. And so I often talk about the Incredible Hulk, who often is associated with being really angry. Then you have Eeyore, who can be quite gloomy and pessimistic and quite, and depressed. And then you have Tigger, who's really bouncy, very enthusiastic, full of energy. And then you have Yoda, who's kind of like very kind of calm and sage-like. And so I often say that, as humans, we can take on the emotions of all of these four of these characters. And so, when you spend a lot of time feeling like the Incredible Hulk and Eel, these are often the emotions that you associate with being stressed. When you experience emotions that you associate with Tigger and Yoda, these are usually the emotions when you are in creation, when you're thriving, where you feel really elevated and positive. And so, again, what we know based on the heart math research and even the work that Dr. Joe does is that, our emotions actually influence how we think, how we behave on a moment to moment basis. And so when we spend too much time like the Hulk and Eeyore, this has a really negative impact on our health and well-being. So it's almost like if that becomes your emotional home, then you're like literally in chronic stress all the time. And as humans, we're not designed to live in chronic stress 24/7. And all the research indicates that this then has a negative impact on our well-being and our health. And so the idea is that once you recognize that this is where you are, once you have that awareness, it's really about asking yourself, how long do you want to stay in that state? How long do you want to carry on feeling those emotions? So once you make that shift, it's about how do you shift from those emotions into those creative emotions where you feel more like Tigger and Yoda. And on the retreat, I shared some really simple breathing techniques, didn't I? And I actually showed you the biofeedback technology.
When you wired clear up to see
Yes.
how the meditation was actually changing.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
fascinating.
Yeah. And so really, on a day-to-day basis, even on a moment-to-moment basis, just checking in on yourself and just saying, who am I feeling like right now? And then doing something about shifting that energy, shifting that state, because the longer you stay in those sort of negative emotions, the bigger the impact it's having on your health and well-being, but not in a good way. And that's just
Yeah,
one little
absolutely.
simple tool.
So the group It's All About You originated, actually, it was primarily for people who were looking to maybe just lose some weight and feel better. But the cortisol is a big part of that, because obviously when you've got this anxiousness, and the cortisol really, really, really does affect the, stress, weight gain, and so on as well. So yeah, it's all connected, isn't it?
Yeah, it's all connected, and because they say that like sort of 95%, 97% of any health conditions, health diseases, they're lifestyle induced, and like it's a very small percentage that is actually genetic. And so for me, it's really important that it's about recognizing that there's a choice here, that you've got to make a choice, and what sort of choices you're making, are they healthy choices? Are they actually supporting your well-being and your health, or not? And that is all kind of within your control.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing. There's access to so much information now, isn't there? Via podcasts. And I love Professor Tim Spector. I love some of the stuff that he's doing. I really do believe we are what we eat. But I do think that if we have our head in the right place, and we can control what we're doing, then we can have a much better and more creative part of us, to actually do the things that we want to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And well-being, when I kind of work with clients, well-being and self-care it's physical, it's mental, it's emotional, and it's spiritual. And often it's the emotional and the mental that can deplete us quite substantially, and have a more of an impact really in terms of our well-being, because that's what internally changes the chemistry, changes the biology, changes you neurochemically. And that's where most of that damage can be done. It's what's going on between the two ears. It's how you're thinking and how you're feeling. It is really kind of where a lot of the work needs to be done, in terms of just becoming more conscious and becoming more self-aware of what's happening with you, and how you're feeling and how you're thinking. It's fascinating.
It is fascinating. So I want to put your links in as well. But one of the things that just, because it takes us right back to the beginning, and we said put your own oxygen mask on. And I think, like, some of the things you just said there about, the spiritual part, we really have to totally connect with that and think we need to actually take back our power, really connect with ourselves, and be in that level to do the things that we really, either have to do or want to do more of.
And it's really important to, like you were saying, Audrey, about kind of connecting to who you really want to be, who you really, what you really want in life. And and sometimes just doing that little bit of work can also bring up a lot of things for a lot of people, and I just think about my own situation where for so many years, my identity was tied up in looking after parents and being a daughter that they wanted me to be. And it's quite interesting, like having now both my parents have passed on, I'm also doing that work on myself, because I'm like, okay, well, who is Daksha? Who is Daksha? Because I've lived this life based on what everybody else wanted for me and thought that I should be doing. And now I'm just accountable to myself. And it's like, on the one hand, it's really exciting because I can be whoever I want to be, but I still got to do that work.
Yeah, absolutely. That was one of the things. So I'm reading a book by Dr. Wayne Dyer just now, and it's You'll See It When You Believe It.
Yeah.
And that's exactly it. This morning, I read it, or I've attempted to read it probably 4 times. And this morning, it was just like, I actually hear you. I can actually hear where you are. And I think it's the journey, isn't it?
Yeah.
We were on the retreat, and it was really emotional, because
yes,
what actually happened at the retreat, what actually happened, because I reached out to a few people, and they come back and said, oh, we would charge such and such to go on your retreat. And I said, no, that's not what it's about. I'm trying to make it affordable for facilitators to come, so that they can actually be there, but so that everybody can benefit from each facilitator. And it worked really, really well. So much so that I've put the other one on. I haven't even advertised it. There's 17 coming again. And the other girls, some of them can't come. So there's new people coming. So, but I think it's in the giving we receive. And I actually put a comment on that. I think it's part of the Bible. It's, if you give to receive, then you're not going to get anywhere. So when we did this retreat, it was let's come, let's see who we meet, and who we meet will take us to where we want to go, and we don't need to put a charge on it. So when people say to me, so how much are you charging? What are you doing? I says, I do things because I want to do them. Whether it's pay it forward, whether it's whatever, that's how I view. But the journey that you're on is very similar to me, and I think that's why we related, Daksha. And I can't wait. We'll probably meet. We'll need to catch up before we go, because some of the girls are actually saying, I put on, right, okay, that's it, organised. We're doing it, you know, the next one. And then they come back and say, could we put one on in the middle? Can we get one? We'll try, you know, kind of thing. But actually, I've reached out to someone, it's a friend, and he's very, very, very wealthy. And he's maybe going to give some funding. So let's see.
That's amazing.
There are some people who've come into the group and they've got challenges, and everybody's got challenges. I had a child with additional needs when he was growing up. Some of the girls that I have met in here have got, you know, children with additional needs. And, you know, see, for me, if I can just go and sit with somebody, you know, my story was suicide, Daksha. You know, I was at my 4th suicide funeral. And I can just help somebody switch the switch to another switch. That's all my goal is.
And I think the thing is as well, Audrey, like, you know, we've all got things going on in our lives, but when we're going through it, it sometimes feels like, you know, you're the only one who's going through it. And it's only when you kind of go to like these retreats and you talk to other people, and people are, you know, pretty open to being vulnerable and sharing, you go, you know what, I'm not on my own. You know, everybody kind of is going through their own stuff, and it's okay. I'm normal. You know, there's nothing wrong with me. It's not that I'm not coping, or I'm not intelligent enough, or that I'm stupid. I'm just human.
Yeah, absolutely. Get into silent disco, get your music up full bung. I mean, there was a lady, and I saw it was, there was a lady, and she was on a different channel. And I'm all about inclusion, actually, right? And I thought, she's on a different channel. Nobody's helping her. And Laura says, you're on a different channel. You're not interested. It's okay. I'm enjoying it. Okay, that's fine. I just thought she was maybe not noticing that we were all singing different songs and on different things. But that's what it is, isn't it? You know, reach out. Just help somebody. If you can help one person, then done a good job.
And, you know, sometimes as well, it's just a small word or a sentence that people will just find uplifting, or like you said, you know, it's just what I needed to hear today. And it can make such a huge difference.
We said that you've got 17 people who are all in a positive comment every morning posting, and then you'll get other people. Now, I don't get many negative comments, but I got one a couple of weeks ago, and I went, oh, there's always one. And then I come through on Friday, and I said to my husband, I said, oh, somebody just told me I'm a ray of sunshine. I said, so it was all worth it. You know, so it's actually just connecting to, because one bad word, if you're in a bad space, can take you down that path.
It can take you down that path, and that's why it's really important to have that tribe, isn't it? Because you know that that's where you can go, and they will lift you, and they will hold you, and they will hold that space for you, and, you know, just let you be. And if you need to cry, you need to cry. And if you need to be motivated, you'll be motivated. And if you need to be inspired, you'll be inspired. But it is about just going to that place where you know that you will be lifted, that you can trust the people that are there, and just give you what you need in that moment, because it's going to be different for different people.
Yeah, so I'm just going to you'll understand this one, but something similar happened on Facebook, and this woman, she wasn't putting negative things, but it was challenging things, and I did notice it, but I just left it. There was 3, and I thought 4 inches out, and Lee was obviously monitoring it, and she sent me a message, and she said, Audrey, is she annoying you? Is she in your head? And I said, no, Lee. I was just really Lee, now that's her tribe. I wasn't even looking, you know, but she's watching and monitoring it.
Yeah, and that's the thing, because you won't have to do anything, because everybody else who knows you, and they know that you're coming from a place of good intention, they will sort it out for you. They'll jump on and they'll sort it. You don't need to do anything. And I stick
with that when you're doing something, as long as you're doing it with a good heart, with good intentions, that's it. If somebody else is actually taking it in a wrong way, they're not in a good place. And I actually wouldn't do anything about that either, because of my situation. Obviously, I would try and help them, which is why I gave her 4 chances.
Yeah, and sometimes when when you are stressed, then sometimes we've all done it, haven't we? We've all said things, we've done things which we didn't mean. Sometimes you end up regretting them. So we've all done it. So I think sometimes it's quite easy, isn't it, to sort of just jump on the judgment bandwagon and go, "Ooh," when actually you kind of just need to step back and go, maybe this person's just having not a good day.
Yeah,
And
that's
it's
it. I
okay.
think it is breathe and actually think about it before you actually jump in. So Daksha, it was really fantastic catching up with you again. But when I come off you, I'm going to put in all your links so that if anybody's trying to catch, what you're doing, they can follow you as well, because that would be, and I'm sure you'll be able to help so many people as well.
Well, can I just say, Audrey, thank you for the invitation and thank you for the opportunity to talk to you. And hopefully, if anything has resonated with somebody and they want to reach out, I'm here. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Good to talk to you.
Bye.
I'm just going to exit.